Today I've got the car high up in the air, and what I'm going to do is pull the exhaust off. When Lucas and I first started getting this thing together to go on a long trip to Vancouver, the exhaust was falling off. So I wrapped it up with some wire and put some self-adhesive tape on it. I don't know, I got it at the parts store, and it said that you can wrap exhaust with it, and it got it out of the parking garage, but now I get to deal with it. So I'm gonna pull the exhaust off. It's gonna let me take that pipe and get it welded up, or identify it, get a new pipe. Oh, and at the same time it's gonna let me take the rear differential cover off, and I can get a new seal in there because it's leaking pretty bad, and I was going through Lucas's stuff and found a new seal, so that's great. He must have known that it was leaking like a sieve. Alright, so here's the first problem. It split here and it was falling apart, so I couldn't get it on the trailer. So I grabbed some wire and, like I said before, some wrap, and made do. Got it out of the parking garage. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to index it with a piece of chalk, so that as this comes apart, if I can weld it up on the ground afterwards, I'll have some kind of reference to get it so the two pieces are twisted in the right orientation. And I'll put a little mark to get the right distance too, because it would be nice just to go take this, get it welded up, and put it back on for now. Eventually make a custom exhaust, something really cool, but that's not right now. Got to see what other problems are happening with the car first. So now that I got this all indexed, I'm going to grab some wire cutters and some other kind of knife and cut this apart and see what happens. I gotta say, this weird tape stuff has worked out pretty well. I think I would keep it in a kit for emergency repairs on a long road trip, because it looks like it's gonna be hard to get off. I'm hoping it tears apart so I can get this exhaust out. Alright, job done. So with any luck I can just rip the rear muffler out, and there's some bolts up here that I can do. See how that goes. I'm going to go against my better judgment here. I think I can snip a wire and just drag the whole exhaust out of the back of the car without disconnecting the rear muffler from the mid pipe. It's probably not going to work, but here's hoping. I'll give it a shot. close, but it's not gonna come. So I will pull the U-clamp off and try to separate it, and then I'll have all the pieces separated anyway, so I can put it back together easier. It's gonna have to happen anyway. Alright, so I gotta get this U-joint off, and I'll wrestle the back half off of the mid half, or I guess that's not halves, back third off of the mid third, and rip it off, see how it goes. So I had those soaking in penetrating oil, so they came off pretty well. One thing I'm seeing here, I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's a screw inserted in there. That's pretty cool. I don't know what that's for, probably a hole there. There's been some welding that's happened up here. So it might be better just to get a whole new exhaust. We'll see. Let's see if it'll come apart now. Now these two pieces are fused together pretty well, probably pretty rusty. I might drench it in some penetrating fluid and see how it goes. I don't know if I'm going to be able to wrestle it off without damaging the car. Looks like if I wrestle it too hard, I'm going to crush brake lines, maybe even a fuel line. I don't want that. But it doesn't even have a wiggle. That's gonna be fun. Just have to work it. Gonna rip in half. It's in such bad shape that it's just gonna rip in half. You may just go ahead and let it rip in half. This is definitely not gonna come apart before I get it. There she goes. Damn! I'm going to grab a piece of chalk, index that with the distance so that if it's got to be rebuilt, it can be rebuilt. I know I can buy this from BMW. It's probably pretty expensive though. Actually, I saw the pricing. It wasn't too bad, but they add an extra $100 shipping, which is just not very much fun. But it might be the best way to go. We'll see. Get it all off on the ground and regroup. Just gotta get the rest of the mid-pipe off the front with the resonator, and I'll have everything off and can figure out what to do next. Huh, there's a hole in the bottom of the car. That's probably not very good. Okay, last things to remove this resonator. The header looks fine. I'm just going to leave that so I don't have to get into buying a new one of those. It'd be nice one day to do a whole custom exhaust, but right now just trying to get on the road. So 3 nuts and bolts. They're the wrong nuts and bolts here. We'll get them off and replaced with the proper heat rated nuts and bolts and locks on them as well. And once they're out, I'll be able to see what I got and order new parts, or see if I can go to a fab shop and get it all welded up, and we'll go from there. Here we go. There's one, and yeah, that did come up pretty easy for a old car, so I suspect somebody had been working on this before. I also gave it a good shot of penetrating fluid before I started at this, thinking that I was probably just going to have to cut them. So good news, I don't have to cut them. There we go, it's off, and looks like it's in pretty good shape, other than the fact that the backside's ripped in half. Probably have to get a new gasket that comes in here so we don't get carbon monoxide poisoning, and this piece looks pretty good, so that's nice. Rip all this stuff out and then be able to see what's going on the floor. Okay, so it is off the car. It looks like it's fairly standard from what I can tell, from what I've seen on pictures on the internet. It is the stock part. I hope that that's the case. If so, I can just buy some parts, but I am going to take it to an exhaust shop and see if they can just weld it up real quick, so I don't have to spend any money and just throw it back on the car. You can see along here, that's where I taped it together and wired it, and that's where the initial split was. It's pretty broken. And continue on. Previously somebody had welded in a little neck there to make sure it was going to hold together, but it has since degraded just beyond that and needs to be repaired there as well. It is pretty rusty, so it might be time for it to get replaced anyway. Anyhow, I should be able to get some progress made and get the car on the road for the spring. This is probably the last big thing. Only other stuff left is fluids and a little bit of a shakedown run, and we can start driving it around.